Ferrari is heading into the Melbourne Grand Prix with plenty of uncertainties. The most formidable driver pairing on the grid is in for a tougher challenge than they might have expected when it comes to competing for the race win. Preseason testing has already exposed some weaknesses in the car, and while alarms haven't gone off in Maranello just yet, the early signs suggest that this season might take a turn for the worse much sooner than anticipated. But is there a way for Leclerc and Hamilton to turn things around and avoid another frustrating campaign? And if so, how can the car's updated design play a role in this effort? There's no doubt about which team has generated the most buzz ahead of the 2025 season. Ferrari. The team pulled off one of the biggest signings in F1 history by adding a 7-time world champion to their lineup, pairing him with one of the most talented drivers on the grid. If provided with the right machinery, these two have the potential to be a nightmare for their competitors. Leclerc has repeatedly shown that he can extract the maximum from a car, even when it had no real business fighting at the front. Expectations for the SF-25 are sky high, not necessarily because it's expected to be the fastest, but because it will be driven by two of the most competitive racers on the grid. This is exactly why a significant concept change was introduced. The team believed there was still untapped potential within the current regulations before the new era begins, in 2026. However, early tests with the SF-25 have raised some concerns. Despite all the simulations and projections, the car's performance in Bahrain over the 3-day preseason test didn't fully reflect the numbers seen in development. Although preseason testing is the best time to identify and address issues, Ferrari would have preferred a stronger start rather than heading into the first race with doubts. If the data from Bahrain is anything to go by, maintaining second place in the Constructors' Championship could be a real challenge. Both Red Bull and Mercedes have looked solid with their updated lineups, and McLaren, without a doubt, has set the benchmark for the rest of the grid. Whether anyone likes it or not, they are the team to beat in Melbourne. That said, several key factors will influence how the race plays out for Ferrari. Even though the numbers from Bahrain weren't particularly encouraging, especially on the third day, when Hamilton couldn't complete his full race simulation due to high tire degradation, there's one crucial difference this time around. The nature of the Melbourne circuit contrasts significantly with Bahrain. The Bahrain track puts more stress on the rear of the car, which seems to be a weak point of Ferrari's latest design. On the other hand, Melbourne is more front-limited, which should actually work in their favor. With the SF-25 featuring a newly adopted pull rod front suspension, this setup could offer an advantage. While it doesn't drastically alter the car's aerodynamic profile, it does create an opportunity for more aggressive braking and quicker acceleration out of corners, without the risk of sudden instability at the rear. The real challenge? Ferrari hasn't had the chance to properly test this in a real race scenario. The first opportunity to gauge how well the new setup works will be in Melbourne, and a few practice sessions might not be enough to fully unlock its potential. Lessons will be learned on the spot, and adapting quickly will be crucial for both drivers. Reports from sources close to Ferrari suggest that the team is cautiously optimistic about the work done in Bahrain. The data collected during testing has kept the engineers on their toes, as they aim to fine-tune the car before the season picks up full speed. However, Leclerc has already issued a warning. Just because they have one of the strongest driver pairings on paper doesn't mean success is guaranteed. The Monegasque driver emphasized that the SF-25 will require ongoing development throughout the season if they are to remain competitive. Ferrari will soon face a crucial decision. Should they continue investing resources into improving the 2025 car, or shift their focus toward preparing for the major regulation changes in 2026? This choice may need to be made earlier than expected, depending on how the SF-25 performs in the first few races. One of the biggest concerns coming out of Bahrain is the car's operating window. This could become a tricky issue for both Leclerc and Hamilton, as we've seen in the past, how even top teams like Red Bull struggled when their cars' upgrades didn't align with the optimal performance range. Once an F1 car falls outside that narrow sweet spot, its pace can drop dramatically. The same car that gains a second per lap under ideal conditions can also lose that advantage just as quickly due to minor changes in temperature or track conditions. If Ferrari fails to address this inconsistency, the SF-25 could become unpredictable. Even a slight variation in track temperatures could lead to tire degradation issues, similar to what they experienced during the preseason test. That's a serious challenge both drivers will have to deal with, and overcoming it could determine whether they remain contenders or fall behind in the championship race. When discussing the upcoming season, Leclerc remained cautious, acknowledging that testing is mainly about fine-tuning their own car, but it's impossible to ignore what the competition is doing. He admitted that while McLaren looked strong, it's difficult to draw conclusions without knowing the exact conditions under which other teams were running their cars. However, he did emphasize that Ferrari gathered valuable insights from testing, both in comparison to their rivals and in understanding their own limitations. Despite the concerns raised in Bahrain, there's still a strong sense of confidence. Within Ferrari, enthusiasm around Leclerc is contagious, and he remains hopeful that the SF-25 has the potential to be a competitive package. The changes made to the car's design aren't just minor tweaks. They represent a major shift in philosophy, one that Ferrari believes can unlock more performance than initially expected. Team principal Frédéric Vasseur also expressed confidence in the new approach, stating that the switch in suspension design has opened up new opportunities for development. According to him, after years of refining similar concepts, a change was necessary to keep up with the evolving competition. While he acknowledged that results are the only true measure of success, the early indicators suggest that Ferrari is moving in the right direction. That being said, Vasseur was careful not to make bold predictions. When asked whether Ferrari could fight for victory in Melbourne, he admitted that it was too early to tell. The extreme conditions in Bahrain made it difficult to get a clear picture of the pecking order, and there are too many unknown variables, fuel loads, tire strategies, and car setups that could influence race performance. However, one thing is certain. Ferrari is prepared to fight, and they are determined to make the most out of the tools at their disposal. There has also been a lot of speculation surrounding Hamilton's transition to Ferrari. Many believe that while the SF-25 is an upgrade from the Mercedes he drove last season, it may not be the revolutionary change he was hoping for. The key question remains: will Ferrari provide him with a car capable of challenging for the title, or will this be yet another season of near misses? So far, Hamilton seems optimistic. He has praised the car's initial feel and is enjoying the process of adapting to his new environment. However, he has also made it clear that he is still in the early stages of building a strong connection with the SF-25. Preseason testing was more about understanding the car's behavior rather than pushing it to the absolute limit. His main focus has been developing a strong working relationship with his new engineers and fine-tuning the setup to match his driving style. That said, Ferrari's technical team has a difficult challenge ahead. While the SF-25 has potential, it also comes with limitations that must be addressed quickly. If the car's balance issues aren't resolved in time, Hamilton and Leclerc could find themselves struggling against Red Bull, Mercedes, and McLaren, not just for wins, but for podiums. The battle between Hamilton and Leclerc within the team will also be one to watch. If the SF-25 proves to be a competitive machine, Ferrari will need to carefully manage its two top-tier drivers. Will they allow both to fight freely, or will one eventually be prioritized in the championship battle? These are questions that will be answered as the season unfolds. One thing is for sure: Ferrari has no room for errors. The SF-25 needs to be consistent and reliable if they hope to mount a serious title challenge. A car that only performs well in specific conditions will not be enough to beat the likes of Red Bull and McLaren. The true test begins in Melbourne, and the first few races will reveal whether Ferrari has built a championship contender or if they will once again fall short. Ferrari's biggest challenge isn't just about outright speed, it's about consistency. In recent years, they've had moments of brilliance, but those have often been overshadowed by strategic mistakes, reliability issues, and difficulty in maintaining performance across different circuits. The SF-25 needs to be a car that delivers in all conditions, not just when everything aligns perfectly. If they can achieve that, Leclerc and Hamilton have the skill to extract every bit of potential from it. However, early signs suggest that the car's performance window is still quite sensitive. If the engineers can widen this range and make the SF-25 adaptable to different tracks, Ferrari could be in for a strong season. If not, they may find themselves playing catch-up from the very start. As the Melbourne Grand Prix approaches, all eyes will be on Ferrari. Can Leclerc and Hamilton turn their preseason learnings into a strong race performance? Will the car hold up under race conditions, or will the weaknesses exposed in testing come back to haunt them? One thing is certain: this season is shaping up to be one of the most exciting in recent memory. The battle at the front is tighter than ever, and with two world-class drivers behind the wheel, Ferrari has everything to fight for. The journey begins now, and every race will be a step toward answering the biggest question of all. Can Ferrari finally reclaim their place at the top? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Ferrari has what it takes to challenge for the title this season? And don't forget to stay tuned for all the latest updates on the world of Formula One.